What's up? Aloha! My name is Jordan Hill and welcome to the Kākau Canteen, a basement tiki bar located in the exotic locale of Columbus, Ohio. This is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, but I really didn't have A, the space, or B, the time. We had the space when we bought a house last year, and then the world decided to end in March, so suddenly I had the time. Needless to say, this has been a very fun project of mine. It's something I'm pretty proud of, even though I don't think it's ever going to be truly complete. But something I neglected to do is give a proper, detailed tour of the place. This isn't going to be a technical breakdown to describe how the lighting effects are done. This is more to explore the story, to explore the props everywhere, and just in general give a vibe for how the place is set up and where everything is. So come along for the ride. I hope you enjoy. So I think what we'll do is we'll just cover every wall. I may not go over every single prop, but I'll at least be sure to, run by it at least. I'd say about 80% of the props currently in the canteen were sourced from local antique stores and thrift stores and stuff like that, where the other 20% is a mix of, creators in the tiki community as well as, honestly, just a few things from Amazon for the utility aspect, which I'll get to behind the bar. But there's a lot of neat stuff in here that I've just kind of found while going out for props every now and then, like this sign right here. I'm not sure if it came from like a Boy Scout camp or something like that, but it's a bunch of knots that you would use in a camping or expedition hiking situation. I'm not an outdoorsman, so I couldn't name any of them, but hey, if you want to take a peek, there you go. One of my favorite things I've put in here, I've only actually, believe it or not, been to Disneyland in Anaheim once in my life. And something that I always wanted to do when I made it out there was get my prescription here from Old Shrunken Ned. I was very happy to do it. I used to play, I don't know, this depends on the age of the audience, but there was a game I used to play pretty religiously in like early 2000s to late 2000s called VMK, Virtual Magic Kingdom. And Ned was a character in that game. And to be able to finally see him in person, it was a big moment for me, so I had to put him in here. So this is actually one of the earliest props that I built for this bar before I even had a place to build it. This is inspired by the Reggie's Revenge container at Jock Lindsey's Hangar bar, if it wasn't obvious already. I saw that for the first time when I went, and I was like, that's pretty cool. I'd love to be able to recreate something like that. So this is actually just a vase stand, or vase, with a barrel-shaped, like, I guess it's not even a dispenser, it's just a container that I actually just found at Walmart. I drilled a hole in the bottom lid and drilled a few holes here at the top, and inside the bottom, I'm not sure how easily I'll be able to catch it here, but there's actually an air stone from an aquarium. It's kind of hard to see, but it's a circular air stone there at the bottom, hooked up to what you can maybe see back there is like an air compressor from an aquarium. So it just, I fill it through the top. I put a little bit of green dye in it with some lights there under the container lid, and suddenly we have Mara's Eye being brewed right here in the canteen, which is dressed up with a label I put together myself, but also Trader Brandon's Maraglyphics pendant translator right here, which there's actually two of here in the bar. This is the second edition, but I kept the first one around. And this is sort of an indie corner in general. We have a poster here from Lost Delta Outpost that I really enjoy, sort of like a War Bonds World War II sort of poster that you'd see hanging around, as well as a fedora here from Indy. And since Indy can't not lose his hat, obviously he wouldn't leave it behind. It's his backup, so he makes that very clear. Moving on from these guys, we just have a general shelf back here with a lot of overflow mugs, shot glasses. There's actually a few bowls for some Dole Whip back there, as well as our shipment schedule here. As you can see, Rolly is very fond of Wednesdays. Right below a shot up sign from Dr. Skipper himself. We got to keep an eye on those hippos, guys. Most dangerous animal in the wild. Speaking of Rolly, this is actually the first prop that I built even before we had a space to build the canteen. I built this guy late, maybe even early 2019. He's been a while, but he's the first thing I built. He's been dressed up a little bit since then. But interestingly enough, inside of Rolly here, there's actually a speaker up there. This is a squirrel baffle, kind of hidden with some hay and raffia and stuff. But he has his own audio loop, voiced by Matthew Christopher Thompson, who did a great job voicing Rolly, which you will see right here.
Don't feed the bird, don't feed the bird. Read the sign, read the sign.
Obviously, in the future, you know, I've had some thoughts of maybe, you know, if he moved, it'd be pretty fun. But that's blue sky in it. We'll get there. Moving on from behind Rolly here, we have our house rules sign, which is actually another one of the first things that I put together here. But there's some references there to some stuff at Sam's and Jock's. You know, cursed idols are not a good form of payment. Don't feed the bird, which Rolly here actually references every now and then. He knows what the sign says. And below that, just a Mai Tai glass display. We got some stuff from Jeff Granito, Inferno Room, Sippin' Santa, anything that's not the glasses that were made for this bar specifically, which is above one of two cabinets, which this one actually has a couple interesting things on it. This is an ice bucket that I found nearby here in Columbus, as well as this decanter. This is actually full of Galliano. We'll get to the menu later on, but there's only one drink on our menu that has Galliano on it, and that's the Globetrotter. So if you order the Globetrotter, part of that drink is coming out of this guy. Moving on from that, we have what I would call the centerpiece of the bar, but it's the back wall here, the very center of it, where we have a lot of mug storage. We also store some of the alcohol back here. Anything overflow can go down there. There's also a little bit of storage underneath those. But this is there's a lot of backstory here, actually. So pinned on this map back here, we have some Polaroids of some old explorers who are described in the menu and the lore. We've got like Hathaway Schweitzer, we've got Fletcher Campbell down there, who all have backstories and their own drinks in the menu. I'll get to those later, of course. But there's a few other things on here. We've got some Adventure Project stickers. There's some old stamps on here. There's actually a few pins. There's a C pin there. This shelf is actually where all of the audio for the bar is coming out. It's hidden behind this radio, which is actually just an old radio I found that was busted out. I took the back off and put like a little LED tea light in there, so it looks like it's running. But hidden behind this is actually just a Amazon Echo Dot. It's one of the newer generations, so the audio quality is pretty good. It's actually a lot louder than the original ones. And it's doing a pretty good job because it actually, this isn't a technical breakdown, but this guy is used. It's a pretty big part of how the current effects are being pulled off in here. And up here, stored over top of all that stuff, is maybe my favorite display of props here in the bar, because it's just kind of a smorgasbord of stuff. I mean, we got a motor oil can, some labels here from Robbie Yo. I like them a lot. They're very well done. There's other things up here. We've got some statues that I found at some stores. We have an old fan, which actually works, but the cable is so frayed that I can't imagine it's safe to run. We got some coasters from Jock Lindsey's. A few other things up here. Hollywood Tower Hotel Bell. Say that 5 times fast. Old camera, a couple more labels there, but like I mentioned earlier, there's all these like Polaroids up here. These are actually just Photoshop pictures of some of my buddies who I wanted to make sure had a place in here, so they're hanging up here as well. On the other side of the centerpiece here in the bar, we have another shelf here with some stuff on it, some mugs, as well as Inspiration Falls right here. And if you aren't sure why they call it Inspiration Falls, it is because they inspire you to go. And right above that is where I'm storing the cocktail glasses that I had made. I had like 72 of these guys made, which is why I'm selling these off. Shameless plug. If you want one of these, they're on sale on my profile. But I'm keeping a few for myself. These were the ones that I really liked. And below that, this place has a lot of masks. I've been finding these masks in the strangest places you can imagine. That brings us next to what is probably my favorite piece in the entire canteen, which is this Pele Head, built and sculpted by Buzz Rhino. I commissioned this from him last year, and the man did a seriously incredible job. I mean, the detail on this guy is just like, I mean, unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. Every time he sent me a progress video, I was blown away. And the best part of this is that it works. I'm gonna attach a video here for you.
I am Pele, goddess of fire and volcanoes.
Now, she is a bit of a pain to get off the wall, so I probably won't be showing her inner workings. All this to say, her smoke here is actually controlled with a key fob. So you push that and she starts to smoke. And like you saw in the video, there's actually a flame bulb inside of her that goes off with the effect. One of the fun things in here is that there are a lot of like miniature stories going on as well, alongside the main overarching lore, I guess. Like stuff like this, do not use fruit from last week. Guess what? That fruit is actually right over there. So there's little stories going on in the background for those detail-oriented people. That's actually kind of the most fun stuff that I've done in here. One of my goals in here was to fill the walls as much as I possibly could, because they were pretty barren at first. As time has gone on, I found a lot of stuff to hang up on the walls, but I don't want it to be out of place. So there's, you know, weird stuff like a piranha that I found in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, taxidermized piranha. More masks, like I mentioned earlier, found everywhere. Pretty happy with how it's coming along. So the canteen is actually responsible for me learning how expensive fake flowers are. I wanted to put a floral display in here similar to what you see in the tiki room, but I didn't realize how expensive fake flowers are. All this to say, my wife actually put this arrangement together. It's just hidden in a box here, and there's like a little shelf under it. I'm not sure how dark that footage is, but I really wanted something in here reminiscent of those corners of the tiki room, and I think she did a hell of a job, honestly. Some of the places in here are obviously darker than others, but I try to keep that darkness relegated to those spots where people won't really be seated, I guess. But even then, I still think it's nice to put some detail on those walls, even if it isn't exactly, you know, standing out per se. This mask here is actually something I picked up purely because it reminded me of a certain mask in the Expedition Everest line. It always strikes me when I walk by that mask, and I saw this at a store and I was like, yeah, I gotta have it. So it is now firmly planted here in the corner of the room. So I do have to give a secret away for people who follow the bar. What I'm doing is that you may know I'm adding some projection mapped effects here to the bar. And you may be wondering where that projector is. Well, it's actually hidden behind this postcard here. It's an unsightly image. The projector is hidden right there. It stays in place so it doesn't move or anything. But it's in a spot to where if you're sitting in front of it, obviously the projection is not going to, you know, pass through somebody who's sitting in this seat per se. The bar was not designed with projection mapping in mind. You know, I just started learning it, and if it was, I may have been able to put it somewhere, you know, less obtrusive, let's say. But for now, that's where it is. Does this to say in the future I won't move it to see if I can get it in a more user-friendly space? We'll see. But at the very least, it's fun to learn. So the biggest question that I still get about the bar itself is how the window was done. And to be clear, it's a TV mounted behind the wall with some drywall kind of surrounding it to give it like an inset look, and then just some fake plants in front. The video itself was actually created by me, but I do have a bit of a story about this. The volcano itself was actually created by Disney Dan. And I didn't even know that when I was making this. I was telling my buddy what I was doing, and I was like, yeah, I need to find like a painterly sort of volcano. And then he sent me this volcano, and I guess it was something that Dan had posted on his Twitter when he was working on his video. Then I just ran with it and completely forgot to replace it later. Thankfully, Dan is a very nice guy and has given me permission to keep using it, and it works really, really well. So this is all running on a Raspberry Pi, where I have actually earmarked where the video effects begin as they relate to the rest of the bar. I'm just able to seek to a certain percentage of the video where that effect begins. So for example, if I wanted the Pele effect to go off, I would just hit this right here. And I know this isn't a technical breakdown, but just to show you how it works, it starts going off right there. Once the effect ends and everything goes back to normal, I can return the video to the very beginning where the just general loop with nothing going on is. This was a very fun project, and I'm actually pretty happy with how it turned out. I would be remiss not to mention the ceiling, because there's a lot of stuff in the ceiling, hanging from the ceiling, including 2 lights from Oceanic Arts, actually. These were something I really wanted to add, because at first they were just light bulbs, just kind of haphazardly sitting there without a purpose or a rhyme or a reason. And I wasn't really happy with them, so I was happy to put shades around them. Other than that, we have, you know, your basic tiki, you got your fish floats hanging around. But I also really like to keep my mug boxes. You know, that's sort of something I'm going to do. If I'm going to collect mugs, I might as well collect the boxes too. hang them up there in the netting and just have a more dynamic look. This was a more recent addition. My buddy down in Cincinnati has a way of procuring bourbon barrels. And I always wanted to put one in here, especially in this corner, which was kind of empty there for a while. Now it acts as mug storage, and it actually has a few little details surrounding it. Lots of suitcases with travel stickers and stuff on it. And if you actually look on the barrel, there is a shipping container, like a shipping item list from Lao Che Trading. And unfortunately, it looks like Rolly's going to have to, wait another week for his birdseed. So I'm not sure he's too happy about that. But needless to say, this was a cool addition. I'm really happy with it. I'm glad it fills some otherwise dead space. And I got to give my shout out to Steve for procuring this barrel for me, who actually exists here in the bar as Beauregard Coriel. If we're talking about the bar top itself, it's actually not too exciting, and it actually has these bar stools that I got to be honest, I'm not too happy with them right now. I'm probably going to replace them in the future. They're not really tiki, they're not really of the era. They were cheap, and I really wanted to get the bar open, so they're functional. Let's say that. They'll probably not last too long. But I did add recently this detail to the corrugated metal on the front, the This Side Up painting, which I'm pretty happy with. My wife owns a Cricut, those smart cutting machines. So I just took some vectors of these big letters, printed them on vinyl, then stuck them straight to the metal and painted inside. And I'm actually pretty happy with how it turned out. I think it adds a lot of, otherwise it'd just be kind of a blank, boring space. So it adds a little bit more story to the entire thing, and it just, it's better than just a blank wall. If we're going to talk the logistics of bar operation, the way you get back there, this is actually just on a hinge, so it lifts up. It's kind of a tight space back here. The entire bar is actually only 12 by 12 feet, so it's not too big. But it, for what it is, just a home bar, it gets the job done. We have a well here with some overflow alcohol. I'm actually not the best bartender, and I'm not too knowledgeable on tiki quite yet. I did more of this for the theming and the, that kind of aspect of it. But I'm learning. I'm getting there. We have some old Amazon Echo buttons, which used to be used to trigger the lighting effects in here. I actually no longer use those. I found a way to kind of bypass them. Your basic stuff. You got our, for our garnishes, we have these really cool, picks. I can't remember who made these. I'll look them up. I'll put a screenshot up, but they're the Chinese lantern picks. Contigo Tiki Bar. That's what it is. Your basic stuff. We have a bar caddy here with, just full of swizzles. We got some Brian Reckenmacher in there. We have the Grider Fire Swizzles. There's a few things from Trader Sam's in there, amongst a whole myriad of other things. And it's kind of overflowed. Skipper Canteen coasters. I actually have my own here as well. So we use those when people are over, if I can find where it went. And another bar mat here from Brian Reckenmacher, who makes these, and they sell out immediately, but for good reason. They're great. I love mine. A sink. Fun fact, there's actually no water hookup here in the basement. So this sink was put together from scratch. We cut out the hole for the basin. The basin works. We put in the faucet. But how does it actually run? Fun fact, it's actually, just because we had to get something down here, it's a 5-gallon tub, one of these guys, hooked up to a water pump. So when you turn it on, I actually think it's empty right now, water does come out of the faucet. So it's we have to refill it and, dump it out, and it goes into a bucket here. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but at least we get a little bit of water flow down here. It's useful for rinsing and all that kind of stuff when you're making a bunch of drinks. On top of that, we're also keeping some glass storage down there, so when we're making drinks, that's where, unless you're putting it in a cocktail glass, that's where you can get your stuff, or a mug. And you got to keep things cold, so just a small mini fridge here. There's a little tiny freezer inside, though we don't use it very often. Got to keep things cold in the bar, man. That's how we're doing it. And now we get to the menu. Why people would come here in the first place. Like I said, I'm not the best bartender, and I'm still not too knowledgeable on tiki in general. So not everything in here is a tiki drink. There's some stuff in here that I just kind of like to make. But I'm probably going to overhaul this in the future as I learn more. So here it is as it currently stands, at least. We have our Marazai. Almost every drink in here, not all of them, but almost every drink has a corresponding prop somewhere. So Marazai mentions that is Where is it? Right there at the bottom. It is fermented and distilled at this very establishment, and it has a weird, mysterious green glow. And what do you know? Right there next to you is where it is being made. So there's the Marazai. Moving on, we have my favorite drink, which is a Blue Hawaiian, where it is Hathaway Schweitzer here, who we mentioned earlier and saw him on the map. He mysteriously disappeared one night. He has his own effect that is actually getting a projection mapped effect, but I'm still working on it. I'm not too happy with it yet, so stay tuned for that in maybe a few weeks. But every time this is ordered, we ring a bell in his honor. So we have our bell here that we ring for him, and there's even a few little details on the map where his last known location was. So that's where his props are. And of course, as I mentioned him earlier, Fletcher Campbell, jungle missionary who did not make it out all in one piece. And this drink is actually served in the very communion cup that he himself used, which is actually right here behind the bar. And there you have it. This is the Kākau Canteen as it currently stands as of March of 2021. And like I said at the beginning, I don't think this place will ever be truly complete. There's a lot more stuff I'd like to do here in the future, but since it might be a while till I do anything else big or major, I thought now was the proper time to give an actual bar tour. So I hope you enjoyed. Please stay tuned for more. It's really nice to see all the comments from people about how they're enjoying the build so far, how it's inspiring them. It's heartwarming to me, gotta be honest. And I just love seeing them. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more.